Okay. All right. This week we have Owen doing things. Go.
Thank you very much, Keisha. Hi, my name is Erwin Williams. Welcome to Power Hour, guys. I'm joined here by a live studio audience at the Tamina Room in Teleios Systems at our head office. We have, this is a different format, even different to the one we tried for the first time last week. So we continue to improve on the whole idea of whatever this format is. Today, it's not really my session, as in I'm not presenting any technologies I discovered or played with, as you know we do in Power Hour. Instead, I have two, not just one, two additional presenters who are going to share with us their story around building cool things. Um, as I said, I do have a live audience who sometimes they're helpful and sometimes they're not. We're glad they're here either way. So what we're going to do, because it's a bit new and a bit all over the place, please forgive some technical challenges. Let me introduce them, and then I'll ask you to do some stuff because Power, um, everyone is pretty helpful and a lot of fun to work with and all the wonderful stuff. Anyway, let's go. So let me start. I have here Akash Hariram and Geon Bell. Akash, come say hi. There he is. There he is. Akash, we want to see more than your hand. You keep doing these things.
Hello.
So here's Akash. Akash is. Hey, who's Akash? Akash is a distinguished engineer here at Teleios.
So when you could bend the knee, you could bend your knees or something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Akash.
Akash, you could tiptoe.
It's very he made game reference again. He did not.
Oh
I
wow.
did, I did. I
He
did.
does know. He does know. He does know.
Oh my.
So, Akash is our distinguished engineer, the first at Teleios, and day to day, Akash works on the PowerWorks team. They're building out the PowerWorks solution, which is built on top of our QuickWorks platform. Very, very groovy stuff. And at night, when he should be sleeping, he's also building cool games. Akash, how's that going?
Um, so I haven't been building games for a very long time, and the only reason that I got back into it recently is because of something called the Jam. Also that, but also there's a thing happening currently called Developer Month, and as part of Developer Month, the first 2 weeks of it is dedicated to a game jam. So yeah, so that's the main reason that I got back into making games, because
Nice.
when you're married, you don't have time to do such things.
Noted. Akash,
Yeah.
have a seat. Let me get back some height and invite Gian as well. Gian, so you participated in this game jam. Gian is our resident, one of our resident data specialists. Gian is. Oh, I could do this again.
You can. There we
Oh,
go.
wow.
Feels good.
Thank you, Karisha. Gian is one of our professionals who works on our data solutions here at Teleios. Gian is also an operations specialist
That I am.
in all departments, really, because operations handles all of our solutions in the public that go out to production. I like that side. That side is, yeah. So operations plays a central role in our infrastructure, keeping things up and running and doing it really well with limited resources for a long time. Jen, in fact, you've continued to push our boundaries in terms of our use of data in innovative ways, right? You do some Power BI stuff.
That I do.
You've been doing some SQL Server explorations for a long time now. You have a blog. What's your blog called again?
SQL something. That is SQL for those that
You don't know the name of it? You forget the name? SQL something?
SQL something?
SQL something.
No,
SQL
it's actually
something
SQL something,
dot
guys.
blogspot.
Oh.
There you
dot
go.
com,
There you
right?
go. There you go. It's SQL something.
SQL, no,
dot
SQL
blogspot
something.
dot com.
It's literally SQL something.
Yeah, for
Not,
sure.
call it literally.
not SQL something because you lose the alliteration.
Fine.
But
SQL something.
It feels better. It rolls off the tongue.
Very cool. So that's one of the things you do.
Yes.
You jumped into the game jam as well.
I did.
All right. So how was it for you?
Dabbling in stop
It
motion.
was a good first experience because Akash just came up and he just slapped me this message in chat. He was like, "Hey, game jam." Yeah, basically it was like to slap to the face. He's like, do this thing. And I was like, all right. So, sat down, planned out a game, and like I said, worked very closely with Akash over the last 2 weeks for the game jam. And yeah, we made a thing.
All right. So I do have a small write-up. Thanks, Geon. Have a seat. I do have a small write-up on Developer Month. Let me pull it up on my screen share. So Developer Month is part of an initiative started by the Caribbean developers. As far as I know, Caribbean developers is a group on Facebook. That's the entirety of the groups in my mind. But they're more than that. They have meetups. Sometimes it's at a pizza place or at somebody's office or whatever. They're not very frequent. And sometimes the Caribbean developers links up with like Google developers Port of Spain and may have a thing together like a hackathon or a game jam or a dev jam, that kind of stuff. So it's low intensity in terms of activity, but that Facebook group is fairly active. There are posts and questions and perspectives shared fairly regularly. So we actually had a developer month last year, and it was wonderful for those who invested the time to be a part of it, The talks were what they were, and I was glad to participate. So every year we build, we try to do. Say it again, Keisha.
That when you got pizza?
No, you got pizza. We no. Here's what Teleios does. If someone remembers, there's like an international day of the programmer. I think it's in September or something. If someone remembers and they're like, "Yo, Teleios, that day is coming up," we might just be like, "Yo, have pizza on us." You know what I mean? But no, not that. So not that one, Keisha. That was just us celebrating developers in an unhealthy fashion. Maybe they say we'll give out carrots and beetroot and that kind of thing, and punch and them kind of thing. But no. So Developer Month is a little more. So I really like the effort these guys are putting into it. Any kind of advocacy is hard work. It just be hard just to get people interested, get them on board, get them participating frequently and not having flame wars every two days on your forums. All those things are difficult. And in fact, a lot of us around the company would have participated at Teleios Code Jam or own personal kinds of advocacy activities. So I know Aaron, for example, is a film buff. He is a action star. He does choreography for fights and that kind of stuff in movies. Nicholas Gray, he was here in the room with us. He's a big fan of stuff like Halo. I just didn't want to, share the whole truth with Nicholas, so let's leave it there. So anyway, last year, looking at the post there, it says last year there was Developer Week. And I like how he described it. The second paragraph, he says, to the average netizen, this event was nothing more than an obscure series of YouTube videos, indistinguishable from ASMR, because like my talk was real boring. So I'm glad he called that out. So if you have time, you can check out this post, but I kind of want to get to the thematic areas. So it's this month, August 2019, and it's going to involve, as I started, this game jam, which ends today in terms of the things you're building, online talks, there should be a movie night and a micro conference. So in terms of what actually takes place, they will update people on the Facebook channel. I'm really glad because I did share Teams post saying, guys, let's participate. I'm glad that Akash and Geon jumped in. I think I proposed a talk to the micro conference. If it's accepted, I might also share that. I might change it around as well though, because I like last week's talk a lot. I think I'll give that talk again and do something else. So we'll see how it goes because I also have 2 young ones at the house and it's August. So the development month in August is a bit of a challenge. People have training in the house because it have a different kind of development taking place and it involves fun and games and mud. Anyway, so specifically in terms of the game jam, this is the site for it, itch.io/jam/jamming 2019. And for this particular, remember I talked about advocacy, right? For this particular event, it's hashtag jamming 2019. And you can see 3 submissions. 3. One from Lombardus.
Lombardus back in the house.
One from Hisaka. And one from Linden Street
No
Gaming.
comment on that.
We're just focusing for the moment on Lombardus's Blub, and Hisaka's Bloom. So you could guess who is who. Anybody in the audience online want to guess who's Lombardus and who's Hisaka?
I mean, they put the link in the chat before, but
Ah, thank you, Ryan. So that means everyone online has played the game already.
Not the blob.
Yes.
I
No,
try to
don't
run
think
it
so.
while our team's open.
They're both
I
not
hear you,
on.
Ryan. I'm gonna
I
try
play blob,
to.
I play blob.
I'm gonna try to run block. Oh, they're trailers.
Yeah.
Do you both have
I
trailers?
I have a you have one?
Yeah.
Nice. Let's just check out the trailer. So Blob is a game about growth.
You never grow, Geon.
You grew.
That was a puzzle game made for Jam in 2019, where the theme was growth. Oh, what am I clicking on? Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm excited. Blob is a game about growth, and it got a change of perspective that comes with it. Let's check out this trailer.
I just saying I get eaten and I don't know why.
Yeah. I'm not growing. I want to grow. I want to be bigger.
All right, let's see if this guy loads up.
With a video editor.
Wow.
I answered
Helpful.
Hit films was like.
I think this time I was sarcastic, Gio.
I wasn't sarcastic. I answered.
If you're on teams, you may
Gian should
get
make a
audio.
stop motion trailer, bro.
I'm surprised Jen didn't make a stop motion
Thank you,
trailer.
G.I.
Guys.
Joe.
Will you like hear what you hear?
If you there's audio, but you won't hear it on Teams for the trailer.
So how you hear the game song?
So that's a lie. Owen, under the share tray, there's a checkbox. There's a checkbox to say share system audio.
Serious. Well, Teams have it, so next time.
Include system audio is a checkbox.
What is this?
See, he's a happy little blob living his life, and then get eaten.
Oh, this is not how it's supposed to look like. I'm sorry to the audience. I'm sorry, audience. All right, well, let's pull that question right after this trailer. I'll invite you.
Run for your life, blubber.
This game, honestly, though, looking at it, even though it's in one bit mode, is this music in the game? I have a real thing for simple games that have engaging music that is simple and
We can't hear the
allows
music
you to
though.
relax while playing it, right?
Okay.
So that's that trailer. Gian, you want to take us through?
Sure.
Tell us about Blob. Was it difficult to build? Let me stop sharing the screen so they can see
Blob, blob, blob.
the Blob creator.
All right, am I here?
Well, you'll be there soon,
All right.
Gian. Just believe.
All right, cool. Damn. All right. So, first of all, maybe I should rename it Blob because everybody mispronounces it. It's Blub. B-L-U-B.
Right, Blob.
It's actually a little bit of a nod to past co-worker because that's how she used to pronounce Blob. Like she was like Blob-based stories, right?
She was on McGill.
We're recording this particular
That's really
presentation
Very
here.
cool.
Thank you
We
so
are
much.
recording, guys.
So that's how she used to call it Blob. So
Right.
I actually messaged her today and showed her the thing, and she liked it because
Nice.
that was
Very
her
cool.
little thing. All right, so it was called Blob. The theme of the game jam was growth, right?
Yeah.
So that's where, of course, the initial thoughts were circling around. So how do we do that, right? How do we portray that in something of a different way too?
Yeah.
Right. So as you play Blob, as you eat, you will slowly, hopefully, notice that you yourself are growing. It's not immediately
Never
apparent. It do.
I never grew up,
You
guys.
grew several times. Right. And what I liked about it, like when I was initially planning it out and doing the initial playthroughs and stuff, was like it changes your perspective of the world that you're in, like because you really do start off at ant level, and I'm not gonna say how big you can actually grow, but then yes, you get a bigger view like of what your world actually is. So like what you see in the trailer, it just looks like a bunch of green pixels because that is your world at that point in time. And it's not a spoiler. It's there in the tagline: Eat, Explore, Grow.
Oh,
So,
there it is. And Eat, Explore, Grow.
There you go. So that's what it was about, and a change in perspective, like a ant's perspective to something like us. Anyway, so with regard to the underlying technology behind it, 90% Akash.
Akash is technology, so
not quite.
Technology for Hosaka.
They have a
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
right.
So I would have been the artistic direction for it. So I would have come up with the concept. I would have made a nice little PowerPoint presentation, which I should have put in a
PowerPoint
presentation. I did. It was like 4 slides. It was great.
Wow.
About how we wanted blood, because I don't think Akash expected that. He's like, yeah, well, you want to make a game? And I was like, all right, I'll get back to you. Then I was like, it's a
That is cool.
PowerPoint.
We need to see that before this day is done.
And and he would have chosen some of the assets, but then he gave me a tool called Tiled, right? Yes.
Is that you say tiled?
You get 2?
Because that's like a lot of people say blessed.
Yeah.
It's very similar, Akash.
It's a tile map editor, so it's
Yeah,
actually
so-
called tile.
But would that be tilled?
Whatever.
Carry
So
on.
with that, I would spend night just kind of mapping out the world and making it, like I say, adding the tiles, adding the layers, because it works on a kind of layer system. So I was kind of familiar with that because in the video editing that I do sometimes for my stop motion.
Yeah.
I'm accustomed to doing, like I say, layers, and working with this layers for obstacles, this layers for terrain, this layers for something else kind of thing. And, you get into practice of not making the big mistake of doing a bunch of work on the wrong layer and then you have to erase everything and then redo it kind of thing. So and then I would have chosen the music, and like you said, music in a game for me is a big part of crafting the environment. It's super important to me in my head. Like, you could have a beautiful scenery and stuff, and like I hate shows where it looks great and then there's like, and unintentionally there's no background music. Like, you could tell the lack of background music is not a deliberate choice to add to that scene. They just probably didn't know what they were doing at that point in time. So I would have gone through several songs, and not like I went on site and picked this one. I went through like every song on the open. There's like a open assets, for games, for 8-bit music and stuff. I would have gone through each of them, chosen like 15, then cut those 15 to 10, then cut that to 3, and then be like, which one these 3? And then I'll be like, that one. So it's a lot of design work that went into it.
Okay.
So
how long did it take you? The team?
The same 2
Was
weeks.
it 2 weeks?
More, a little less, because I think Akash would have told me about it maybe literally the day it started, maybe.
Okay.
And then I would have taken some days to think about it, like 2 days, and then we would have started. And
are you glad you did it?
I'm very glad I did it. I'm also glad that a guy thought that this was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, I forget his name right now.
Marcus Sanatan?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and he had a little Discord chat where he invited everybody who was interested.
For the older folks, Discord is a place you go, it's an app. It's not like he was a Discordant person. It's just an app.
It is an app. Kind of like...
It's fine, friends.
It's not Jeff Atwood make that way talking about the older people. The older people know about that.
It is, man. You could do.
So it basically was a Skype call. Okay, yep.
Thank you,
it was basically a Skype call. Everybody came. They spoke about game, their experiences in game design and stuff. So it was very interesting. I like that he organized that, and the fact that there were other voices in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean that we're going through stuff like this and how to build games, the course involved, all that sort of stuff. So yes, in a nutshell,
So
yes,
it puts a pin in my mind, because sometimes what happens as well is you have good ideas about building, and you actually start to build, and you find, what is this world, and I'm afraid, and it's not working, and nothing works.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there'll be some place where we can encourage those who didn't submit to share where they were in their journey. Yeah. We can spend some time talking about what the next step might look like. Geon, thanks a lot. Yep. Akash, let me just go to the elevator. Oh, thanks, Geon. For the blob. How do you pronounce it? Blob. Akash, join me up here. Let's talk about let me share trailer, right? So let me share screen.
Akash, I hate this game. Hey, Akash, I hate. I said right? I hate. But you I hate Akash. But you like playing it, right? I don't, mate. You like. I don't win. Yep. Akash. I like Blue.
Guys, publisher's note: if I drop what we call, I'll just jump.
That's what I'm saying. You see, Geon, we're not growing, man.
You're growing.
No, Geon.
You're just taking a while. So we need.
We need the Street Fighter hyper version. All right. Where we grow.
I can make a little extra point there.
Sure.
Play testing is important, right? Yeah. So
that's what we do.
That's what they do. So, I value the feedback. That was the biggest problem.
So we need to know
yes.
how much we need to eat to get to grow.
Yes.
And we need to see that we grow, because we can't see we grow.
Yeah. Like I said, the speed probably needs to increase, or you need more things.
We need protein, dog. We need protein.
So that was the thing. So that was kind of the point.
Wow.
A little bit of a hands-off approach. However, he's correct in that we had even less stuff to eat and we added more, but we needed to, and we added too much, and then like we grew to max in like seconds, right? Which game done, right? So we were trying to find that sweet spot, but we ran out of time, right? So this was good.
Just keep running.
So while we're talking, which is pretty groovy, I may have to restart teams, my friends, which is fine. Just give me a chance to recover. There's nothing really going on.
Yeah. Next time will be next week when my other people are those groups.
Yeah, guys, I'm jumping off to jump back on, right?
And we have some old music.
Some old music, is it?
Old music.
Old, like.
Can a music just play when you get put on hold on the phone, mate?
Hold. I thought they said old. I wish I could just share audio in Teams, right? If I have Teams, right?
Yeah, man, you just have a quick share.
Include system audio?
Yeah, that is always.
But if I do want to share my desktop along with it, you can do that?
I think so.
Anybody beat this butterfly? I don't know.
Hey guys, unfortunately, if the feed was dark before, like I look like super bad guys. Look at that.
No, but it's a pattern, so
Richard, kill a light, please.
Just. They could just here.
A little better.
What is that? And then, nah, like flashy jumpy things on the draw screen for like a second.
All right, Akash, let's go. Sorry, as we were listening to game feedback, friends. So, Akash, you have a presentation.
Yeah.
So
I assume everybody already played the game, so you didn't trailer on Josh.
Well, it's for our audience in the recording. They may not have gone through the game. Let me watch it and showing them.
Okay.
You know. You start the presentation, or you want to go with the trailer?
Yeah, the presentation.
So hi guys, we're back. Akash is going to share with us on Bloom. He did a whole presentation. So the Geon apparently we just didn't get to see it. I'm sorry. And Akash, take it away.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so I assume that you all would have seen the game in the chat, so I wouldn't really go through too much about it. Just to say that my interpretation of the team.
We do have a live playing, talking about one of them seems to have accomplished something.
Yeah, so my interpretation of the team was well, I was thinking what things grew and flowers grew. So how could you craft an interesting mechanic around growth and flowers, and that's how the whole idea came about. So I thought it was an original mechanic until Rachel kind of slapped me in the face and told me no, it was already done. So
Simpsons did it.
Yeah, yeah. So somebody already did it. So that sucks. But I'll just share. So the main thing here is to kind of go through some of the challenges faced while developing these two games. So hopefully you all are able to see my screen. I kind of go into an older version of the game to demonstrate some of the issues that I had to try to solve, and I think I came up with some interesting solutions to them. You all see in my screen, right?
Yeah, we're saying.
Yep, we've seen it.
Okay. It's running pretty slow here, so kill the video.
Still on.
Malou, so perfect. It ran around like 10 times. I clear the stage, just keep running around. Yeah, chip it, spider.
Yeah, so those
the
sound.
It's a spider, it has 8 legs. You already say it.
So right, so the main mechanic in this game is that you have to draw a path that the butterfly will follow to collect the seeds to kind of do a kind of pollination kind of thing, and it'll cause flowers to grow, right? So the main thing is here is well, you need a way to draw stuff on the screen, right? So if you've done any kind of I don't know if anybody has ever done like a painting app, like when you first learn to do graphics programming, that's kind of the first type of programs is asked you to make. So one of the issues.
Is it working?
Yeah, I think so. So one of the issues that you kind of probably seeing on the screen right now is that as I'm drawing this this curve here, you'll notice that it just comes out as a bunch of separate dots. It's not continuous, right? So that's an issue because we want to visualize a continuous curve going so that we can see what's the path that the butterfly will take. So if you were faced with a problem like this, like how would you draw a continuous curve using with these separate dots? Like how would you go about? What was your approach to solving such a thing? Anybody have any ideas about that?
Join them.
Right. So
the convex algorithm.
The convex algorithm.
Yeah, boy.
That sounds very complicated. But yeah, so essentially it is, as Grace said, so what you would do is you would keep track of the last point, and you keep track of the current point, and you'd simply draw a line from the last point to the current point. And if you do that for all of the separate points, then you'll get something that is approximated to a curve. So it's not exactly a curve. If you look at this slide here, you'll notice that it's just a bunch of straight lines that kind of, because they kind of close enough together, they kind of look like a curve. So yeah, so that's one of the problems that, and the solution to that. So yeah, so I guess for a game like this, you don't really have much more complexity than that. There's no AI for the enemies. There's no.
That's the whole game.
Essentially, that's the entire mechanic there.
Wow.
So the interesting part is, how do you craft levels, as Pete would attest to. How do you craft levels to frustrate your player and make them, want
great
to
job, Akash. Great job.
want to try to beat it, right? So yeah, so that's the complexity. For the next game, which is Geon's game, this is a tile map, right? So this is actually what, spoiler alert, this is actually what you would have seen had you grown to such a size that it would become apparent. So this tile map is this tile map is actually built up of a bunch of tiles. So Geon would have used the tile map editor program that he mentioned to construct this map out of these tiles, right? So one of the things that
tiles are made up of what? Sprites?
So tiles are, essentially sprites. So this entire map here, I think it's like a 50 by 50 map. So that's and each tile is like 16 pixels by 16 pixels. So it's a bunch of tiles that you're drawing on the screen at once to represent the map. Obviously, we'll have to do, because it's a lot of pixels, a lot of tiles that you have to render at once. You'll do some fancy things like only show the portion of screen that is visible to the player at any one point in time. So you'll hide the rest of the screen so it doesn't take up processing time and that kind of thing. But the main problem in this game in particular, so I'll just jump to an earlier version of that game.
Or it generated when you move to the next.
Nah, it's already the map already built, yeah. So yeah, so jump to this older version of Geon's game.
Scarlet Squadron is Geon's game company.
I'll never make money.
Wait,
You ate lunch, Aaron?
negative Aaron today.
You're grumpy.
Yeah, you need more food, Aaron.
So this is
How much money your company made?
Wow.
Who was that?
We're recording this call for the whole nation, my friends.
So if you see on the screen here, this is actual size. So these are 16 by 16 pixels. That represents like a fence, right? And this is it zoomed up in the game. So the game will actually zoom in. So that's why you see, you don't actually get to see the actual thing that you're supposed to see. You just see a bunch of pixels, right?
That is amazing.
Head far right if you could without dying, and we might run into a fast
That's dumb.
fence. That's dumb.
Yeah, so
Oh, okay,
I
well,
actually,
fine.
so yeah, in this version of the game, I kind of teleport the player to where I wanted him to be, right? So this is in the game, this is the fence, right? So
That's why you can't get past the fence. It's a fence.
Exactly, but you don't know because you're
Oh, that's really cool.
Nah, man.
That's
So-
what Geon spoiler really
Nah,
cool.
man.
Well,
so yeah,
funny to grow.
Hey, how you growing so fast, bro?
this is
Oh,
this-
yeah, growing.
this-
He moving the way he want to go.
Oh,
Still small.
yeah.
So, and that's the flower area.
This game bad.
Not real bad thing. It is. But it cannot growing.
Yes, keep
look
the
at literally
thing.
growing like you see.
You see, like you say, it's just that when you're in the wilderness, there's not too much
to compare
to. So you had to explore, you had to get further out there.
This game is philosophy or is
It'd be cool for it to somehow zoom out real quick.
So this is so let's see.
Just like that.
the man just get us more
Just like that.
So eventually you get to this size.
Yeah, so eventually it would have been the same size as you are, but the rest of you will kind of shrinks down as you grow.
So essentially, when we put out this video, we need to tell the nation, go play the game for a little while so you can get a sense of what you will eventually discover, as opposed to just watching it and realizing you will sleep.
So I was gonna say, I was actually going to put an asterisk there and say we'll tell them to play after we've made some tweaks to it, given the
Fair
player feedback.
Player feedback. Thank you very much, players.
All these games are great.
Right. So, but the question, the problem here, right, is that if you remember, I said that the tiles are 16 by 16, right? So when you're doing collision detection for the tile, so if I go to this slide here, these yellow squares that you see are the bounding boxes, right? The red square is the bounding box for the player. So if you notice, there's this whole big area inside of here
Player thinks it can go.
that the player can't get to because he'll be blocked by the bounding boxes. So how would you solve something like this? Like, how would you allow the player to reach all the way down here but still collide with the things that are solid? How would you do such a thing?
The easiest way would have just been to make the fence a street fence.
Right.
We were thinking about making a square wheel.
Yeah.
Like, it was a frustration.
So if everything
Instead of a picket fence.
Yeah,
true. So if everything was squares,
Yeah.
then collision detection is easy because everything is just a box.
Maybe bounding box.
So Akash was like, if I don't solve this,
Can you do that?
Always square? Is it always square? Because
So it is, because the game is so vast, 50 by 50 pixels in size, it needs to be square because of the amount of calculations that you have to do if you have to do that kind of thing. So as Owen said, you can make the bounding boxes smaller. So you can make it such that the boxes kind of inside the fence, but then that would mean that for each and every tile, you would have to define where the bounding boxes are, which is tedious, right? Because we have literally hundreds of tiles in the world, right? So
I'm sorry for everything I put you through, Akash.
so how would you do it programmatically? Anybody have any idea how something like this could be solved? So like if you notice in Geon's game right now, you don't get this problem. You could actually go in between these things and stuff. You could hit the solid areas, but the areas that are between, you could also go through. So the way that I approach that problem is essentially, let's go down one. So essentially what I have to do is I have to detect which tile the player is on currently. So if I know that the player is on this fence tile, then I could grab this tile alone because that's the only tile I care about. That's the only tile the player cares about
Or
right
the bounding
now.
box has a particular color. The fence has a color you're looking for.
Exactly. So just detect what the transparent areas of the tile are, and if the tile is transparent at the position that the player is, then that means the player can move through that tile.
All right.
So that is how I solve this problem.
So what do you think all of game boils down to being the maze you did in computer science? That total maze thing.
Essentially,
go up, go down, go left, go right. That's horrible.
Kinda, but you need to. So for game developers in particular, like I know we all are developers and we all have problems to solve and those kind of things, but in doing game development in particular, you come across these kinds of issues that don't necessarily have apparent solutions. You have to kind of think, how would you go about solving this in an efficient way? Because
you have to think outside the box.
Yes, you have to think outside of the box. Okay, I think
inside the box. You can just go on GameOverFlow.com
unfortunately.
So you can actually go down to the last green pixel before the ground.
Yeah.
Okay,
these
that's
red
crazy.
things, what is that?
But they're not really whining on you. Watch it.
So yeah, so that's my insight.
If I get bigger than them,
Stuff that I learned.
Gosh.
I was really
They were
hoping.
running from.
I'm not trying to get rid of these bloody
So
spiders.
they become
Crabs,
prey.
but
Can we talk a little bit about the AI, though?
Sure.
I find that, of course, everything that Akash did was impressive too, but
I did something better.
I did not. I didn't do nothing with the AI. I'm still gonna big him up for the AI. He just glossed over that, if at all. I was impressed with that.
Geon,
Oh,
jump
you want
in.
me to?
Yeah, sure.
Alright. So, I don't know if he thinks it's a big deal, but it was a big deal to me. Initially, of course, we had static enemies as placeholders, and touch them, you die or whatever. So
So you
then
run
he
into
added
that.
in, yeah, pretty much. So, part of what I wanted to do was I wanted it to kind of mimic a little bit of a ecosystem, if that's the word. I wanted something of like a hierarchy, right? So my whole thing, and I was like, Akash, if you can't do this, don't bother. Of course, Akash did it because he's Akash, right? Yes, he's Akash, right?
He's a
So
distinguished engineer. He does it.
for sure. When you're small, like you pray to everything, but as you grow, like you say, once you become slightly, once you become, once you become bigger than something to you, if they ever reach a stage of that, because people die too quickly, so we gotta change that. But once you become bigger than them, they just, one time they bolt from you, kind of thing, and they become prey. But still, things are still bigger than you. They're still predators. So, like you say, yeah.
Right.
And if you eat them, you grow faster and that kind of stuff too, as well. And it was cool too because I wanted that to be an indicator. It does.
Game of real heights,
but
but the simplest game we've seen for the week is too much heights.
Yeah. So, and I wanted that to be a visual indicator of maybe like we could eat them. I didn't want to blatantly say, hey, you could eat this. I wanted it that someone's chasing you, and then all of a sudden you grow, and then this thing like bolts. And I wanted players to be like, if I chase this, like take the risk, and then it's like, I could eat it. And suddenly,
Does it chase you till the end of time, or it goes back off?
So that was the next thing. Initially, they were relentless. They were like Terminator robots. Once they got on this side, I was like, nah, gosh. Like, they just like, once everybody started lighting up and coming towards you, I was like, nah. So I asked them if it was possible to make them disinterested if you could go far enough. So again, like predators go for easy kills, easy meals, that kind of stuff. If it's too much work, a lion is just gonna be like, I'll just go and get something and
I was thinking about get to the chopper. Legit predator.
So I'm really glad, Geon, I'm glad you pointed that out. And so I'm watching. Let me just turn this camera. I'm watching Richard here. He's not taking on the.
I'm listening to everything.
He's deeply involved in staying alive. And one of the beautiful things about this particular exercise is that the developers of the game jam required the participants to make their code open source. So if you wanted to extend this code, it's available, I guess, at itch.io. You can go there, find the code, play with it.
This man not disinterested at all.
You're not getting fined.
Go ahead and probably layer on. What is that noise? Somebody. That's not Kichi.
Kichi, you're on mute.
Kichi. I don't mute you, Kichi.
Any rude boy.
It's also not
There you go.
fair
Quality.
that They could walk past the barriers that stop them.
That sound wasn't Richard.
So that was
That sound wasn't Richard.
it was difficulty due to time frame, right? So I brought that up Akash, and I was like, these men could just again like Terminator robots, but it was too complicated in the time frame, and I really don't want Akash to die.
So
let the player die.
Yes, exactly.
All this feedback is great. Do send it to Geon and Akash. It might be good, in fact, actually, guys.
Solid Squadron.
It might be good for us to just go check out the developer month as well. Reach out to, you can just request to join the Facebook group. There's a hashtag related to this particular jamming 2019, I think it is. Something like that. And really proud of what you guys have done. And I'm really glad for the participation by the wider Teleios community and the celebration. Akash has been making games like these for a little while, and that he would make a game and say, hey guys, I made this game. And the entire organization would spend a little bit of time frustrated or a lot trying to be better at the thing Akash has made. So I don't know if Akash himself is putting us through paces to take us through some other levels.
You think you do that on purpose to frustrate us?
I don't know. He might be.
Yeah,
he might be.
You know, I think Akash is like a psychologist.
He could be it could be a psychologist. And that reminds me, one last thing to wrap up. One of the early researchers in AI jumped into AI from, he was a biologist and a psychologist, one of the early proponents of AI.
Like,
So
how much of these things have, like?
it seems like this game development reviews all of that. And so I'm glad we could have had this conversation here today at Teleios. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Teleios Power Hour. I hand it back to our host, Keisha.
Yay. Thanks, guys. This game is fun and very hard.
Keisha here.
I've probably been eaten by a lot of blogs. That's probably.
Alright, well, that's it, guys. Goodbye. Owen, you can take
Bye.
the song.
Owen, take us out.
Keisha has to say take us out here, and she's the host.
Oh,
I
sorry.
said take us out.
Oh, pam,
Hostess.
pam, 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 pam.
I appreciate it if you background quiet. Alright, guys, bye.